But the question we need to then ask ourselves is, how do we learn the case study? Now we know that there are 5 categorization, 5 things that we're going to be focusing on. But how do we learn, and what should be the stage we go through in order for us to then design our study plan so we can position ourselves to pass the examination? The first thing is the introductory discussion. Now, there are a couple of introductory discussions that you need to really understand and walk through. This is where we try to understand what, strategic management is about, the lenses of strategy, the elements of strategy, and all of those things. And we're going to be using thoughts from Johnson, Schultz, and Whittington, as well as Professor Henry Mitzberg's thoughts, as well as Peter Drucker's discussion on what strategy is. So there are a couple of introductory discussions that you need to understand. Who are the stakeholders of the company? What are their objectives as stakeholders of the company? And how do we ensure that the objectives of all the stakeholders are not in confliction of the main goal of the organization? And how do we reduce any conflict of interest between the major stakeholders of the organization? All these are some introductory discussions that you need to look out for and then discuss. And we could even bring in some various issues like the agency theory and also discuss them in the introductory discussion. But that is what sets the tone for us to go through the syllabus generally. So that is the first part, some introductory discussions. You get that done and then you get excited about it. From there, we begin the real deal, and that is going to be environmental analysis. Environmental analysis is a huge aspect of the syllabus that we need to really look out for. The environment in which a company operates or within which a company operates is divided into various categories. So we have the macro environment. If we are looking at the macro environment, then we're going to be using the PESTEL framework to analyze the environment. Then we will come to the industry competitiveness. That is looking at the sector in which, the industry in which the company operates. And that is where we're going to be looking at the Porter's 5 forces. Then we'll come to the internal environment. This is where we're going to be looking at the strategic capacity and the strategic position of the company. And this is where we're going to be sharing our thoughts on SWOT analysis, value chain analysis, brainstorming, and some other few things that we need to discuss under the internal environmental analysis. Then we're going to go to the international environment, and this is where we're going to be borrowing thoughts from Michael Porter again and looking at the Porter's diamond, and we're going to be looking at the EPRG framework and other frameworks in the international environmental analysis and how companies can implement various strategies. So that is environmental analysis, really bulky area. We're going to be getting excited into that later on, so don't worry, you're going to understand that. But once we understand the structure of the environment, macro, industry, internal, international, we then have to look at the various strategic choices that a company must make in order to gain sustainable competitive advantage. You see, at the end of the day, the objective of the company is to obtain sustainable competitive advantage. What the heck does that mean? Obtaining sustainable competitive advantage simply means that the company becoming a preferred brand, the company becoming the benchmark, the company becoming a market leader at the end of the day. That is what we mean by sustainable competitive advantage. Look at mobile money. In Ghana, for instance, mobile money. Which telecommunication firm it's leading the mobile money game? MTN. So although there are other networks, MTN has sort of squashed the market, dominated the market in the last over a decade now. And that is what we mean by sustainable competitive advantage. Over a decade, the market share, they are market leaders. Over a decade, they are a preferred brand. Over a decade, they are the benchmark for how some of these things are to be done by other institutions. So our goal is to help the company to gain sustainable competitive advantage. For this reason, there are various strategic choices that must be made. And so that is the third category that we're going to be getting ourselves into. And there are various models that we're going to be talking about here. We were going to be talking about traditionally how the company can get competitive advantage. And that is where we're going to look at the Porter's generic strategies model. And using the Porter's generic strategy, according to Michael Porter, a company can decide to be a market leader. A company can decide to be differentiation, that is the best of the best. And a company can decide to also use the focus strategy. Then we're going to be coming into the fact that when a company is selling more than one product and the company is deciding which of the product it should continue to produce, what strategy can it adopt for each of the products or services that it is rendering, what model can we use? And that is where we're going to be coming to the BCG matrix, that is the Boston Consulting Group metrics, and we're going to be coming into all of these things. So the third category is going to be strategic choice, and there are a lot of things that we need to look out for there, and we will get there. 4, it's going to be strategy implementation and change management. So once we understand the external environment, then we make various strategic choices and identify the various alternatives available for us to gain sustainable competitive advantage. We then have to analyze those strategies and then select which one will be appropriate for us. Then we need to implement that strategy. So if we are implementing that strategy, there's always going to be change. Anytime an entity adopts a strategy and implements something new, there is going to be change within the company. So we have to find ways and means to be able to manage that change. So change management is also another crucial aspect of the syllabus that we need to understand. And there are various models that we're going to be looking at when it comes to dealing with change management. We're going to be looking at the Rosabeth change management theory. We're going to look at the Lewis change management theory. We're going to be looking at the Gemini 4R theory and other frameworks that we will look at when it comes to managing change and corporate culture generally. Then the next thing is corporate parenting. You see, companies want to expand and grow, and in an attempt to expand and grow, they're going to have a lot of strategic business units or SBUs, or if you want, a lot of subsidiaries. Or when a company is seeking to expand and grow, the company is going to be deciding, should we expand and grow organically, that is within the company, or we should expand and grow through acquisition and mergers? All of these decisions must be made taking into consideration a couple of factors, and we're going to be coming into that under corporate parenting, and you must understand that also well. Then the next thing is going to be corporate governance and risk management. Like I mentioned earlier, corporate governance is a crucial area of our syllabus, so we need to understand differences between management and governance. We must know the various corporate governance models that are available. We have the UK Combined Code. We have the OECD model. We have Ghana's Corporate Governance Code. Then we have the Corporate Governance Code for the Commonwealth nations as well. We're going to get into some of these things later on in the series, but you need to understand all the corporate governance codes generally, and certainly the structure of the board, the role of non-executive directors, the role of the various subcommittees of the board, and the various things that we need to understand to ensure that the company is effectively run in the best interest, not only for the shareholders, but also of other key stakeholders of the organization. Then certainly we're going to come into financial perspective. It is not always that the examiner is excited to bring anything about financial or calculations in the exam hall, but you have to understand some financial issues, especially if the company is seeking to expand and grow. They would want to prepare a business plan. And so if they want to prepare a business plan, what should be included in the business plan? That's there. And then as they are preparing the business plan, cash flow forecast is going to be crucial there. So how do we prepare a cash flow forecast? Or the company is having some financial issues. What are the alternatives available to be able to deal with those financial issues so that they can be able to have the money available to be able to run the company without stress? So these are the way you have to narrow yourself out. And in my presentation throughout this series, that is how I am going to be going through the various things and discussing the various things with you so you can position yourself to ultimately pass the examination. So let's go back again through it. 1, introductory discussion. 2, environmental analysis. 3, strategic choice. 4, strategy implementation and change management. 5, corporate parenting. 6, governance and risk management. And 7, financial perspective. Of the 5 things that I spoke about being the structure of the syllabus, we break it down into these 7 things so that we can then position ourselves to ultimately pass the examination. Now, let me say this. Maybe you are there thinking you're like, oh, this case study thing is appearing to be really bulky. It's appearing to be a lot of reading. And I'm not a reading guy type. Nobody cares about that. You see, whether you like reading or you don't like reading, nobody cares about it. Nobody cares what you feel. Because when the examination committee is setting the question, they don't sit down and say, oh, the students, do they like reading subjects or they don't? Nobody cares about that. The reason I'm bringing that up is because there are some people who are like, oh, Nhyira, I'm not a reading guy type. I don't like, nobody cares about that. Just get that into your head. If you want to become a chartered accountant, if you want to pass the case study examination, you have only one option. And that option is to love it. That option is to find ways and means to make it entertaining and fun to read. That's it. So sitting down and say, oh, Charlie, this thing is bulky. Charlie, if I read, then I forget. Find ways and means to be able to read and retain a lot of the information that you are reading so you can position yourself to pass the examination. And if you're a follower of my work, I have shared a lot on our YouTube channel in relation to how you can study, how you can retain a lot of information. Make sure you go watch some of these videos so that you can really position yourself. And throughout this series, I'm going to be trying as much as possible to structure every module in a manner that will help you to be able to recollect the key issues at the end of the day. But remember, the onus lies on you to be able to put whatever you learn, whatever you understand, whatever you read in your own words so that you can easily recollect it. Then if you go to the exam hall and there is a question there, you will know, oh, this is what it is talking about. Then you can provide the answer that is needed so you can pass the examination. So in case you don't like reading, nobody cares about what you like or what you don't like. Come, open yourself up and find ways and means to be able to enjoy reading so you can pass this examination and take your life to the next level. So I'll see you in the next episode as we really get excited into the various things that we need to understand when it comes to dealing with strategic case study. And definitely we're going to be just getting excited into environmental analysis and start with some of the key models that you need to understand in each episode throughout the series so that you will be able to put yourself in the position to pass the examination. I'm really excited about this series because I know it is going to be fruitful and it's going to provide you with the assistance that you need, the blueprints that is required in order for you to go into the exam hall with confidence, but most importantly, pass the exam and become successful. I'll see you in the next episode. Remember to share the video, subscribe to the channel, and spread the gospel about this particular series so that we can together help a lot of students preparing to write a case study examination to pass the examination so we can all become successful. I'll catch you in the next episode.